Hey guys, today I'm going to make a short video on financial literacy and pretty much how to save and manage and invest money. Alright, so a little bit about me. I've been a nurse for 2.5 years and I managed to save $1,000. I'm not a financial advisor, so this isn't literal financial advice, but I am going to go over kind of the 3 core components of what helped me save. So those 3 things are budgeting, investing, and I'll call the third one making more money. Technically, I started here and kind of looped my way around. So I started with making more money, being aware of like how to make more money, and then I went into budgeting and then investing. But I think for most people, since they're already kind of in their careers, I'd recommend going budgeting first, investing, and then keeping an eye on if you do need to make more money. All right, so first off, budgeting. So I feel like there is a lot of negative reputation with, or negative rap with budgeting. I feel like a lot of people feel like it's just a way to spend less, but I like to think of budgeting as a way to be aware of how much you do spend. It allows you to spend where you want to, and just be aware that like, oh, I spend this much on fast food, I spend this much on DoorDash, I spend this much on going out. And that's okay. You can be totally fine with how much you spend in certain areas, even if it's more than other people. But it can also give you the opportunity to be like, oh, I'm surprised I spend this much on fast food or this much on XYZ. I'd rather save that and spend it on vacation instead. Like, oh, I'd rather save that for a vacation in Japan or something. First, you would set a loose financial or budgeting goal. A good start is 50, 30, 20% is what it's called. And that is 50% in needs. These are things such as rents, utilities, gas, groceries, anything you really need in a day-to-day. The 30% is wants. Those would be more flexible expenses. Those would be something like getting fast food, buying stuff. I like to buy like random gachas or Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I'm a nerd. Or clothing, hanging out with friends, etc. And last, 20% would be savings. This is a loose recommendation. Everyone's financial needs is independent. How much people make is on a case-by-case basis as well. Everything's very like individualized. This is a loose start, and it's a good thing to aim for, saving for at least 20%. But some people may not be able to. Rent's really expensive in the Bay Area. Some people make vastly different than other people. So see where you currently are when you budget and set your own goals. After you set a goal, you want to keep track of how your budgeting looks like. I recommend looking at least every month for a few months. I ended up doing every month for about 2 years, and then I loosened up a little bit since I kind of know how much I spend. But it was very important for me to just be aware of how much I spend in general. So this is what budgeting can look like if you write it down. I have a Google Sheet that I keep track of everything on. Again, I do this every month. And I'll share the Google link, a fresh document for you guys to use for yourselves. I'm just gonna write it down so that it's more visual for you guys. In this example, I'm gonna pretend that I make $1,000 every month. I budget every month of how much I make, and then I try to keep track of the budgeting goals that I had. And in this example, I'm gonna use 50%, 30%, 20%. So with that example, I'm gonna have 50% of my income. This is my income per month. And it's gonna hopefully be all I need to spend on my needs. I have a little math right here. So I'm just gonna calculate how much I make per month, times it by my goal of spending 50% of it, and that's $500. So my goal is to spend $500 in my needs. And I'm gonna do the same for my flexible expenses and my wants. I'm gonna take 30%, times that by 1,000. And I got $300. My goal is to spend $300 here. And lastly, 20%. My goal, 20% of $1,000 is $200. So my goal is to spend $200 in this category. Then I'm gonna go through my expenses for the month. I use Chase for my credit card, and they keep track of every month, everything that I spend. Credit card. I do probably pay it off at least about every 2 weeks. So I pay off everything, but I do keep track of how much I spend at the end of the month. You may also want to look at your debit card if you do use that. Or I don't know if you use Zelle or Venmo. But for me, it was 99% in my credit card and my Venmo. But yeah, do keep track of your debit card and Zelle if you do use that. So I would look at my credit card and keep track of like, oh, how much was my rents? Actually, that would probably be in debit, but let's say my rents pretend was $250. Oops, sorry. Let's say my utilities, my electric water bill was $50 that month. And these are super make fun money. I wish my rent was $250, but yeah, this is just for example purposes, so you can kind of visualize how I budget. Gas, let's pretend it's $100. And groceries, let's pretend it was $200. So I would add everything up, and keep in mind, I'm looking at my credit card bills, so then realistically, it's gonna look like grocery bills, I'm gonna spend $40 in Safeway, $20 in Target, $30 Trader Joe's, and I'm just gonna add everything up and tally them up, and this is gonna be the total here. I'm gonna also add up everything on here. It's gonna end up being $500. And yeah, for this example, I actually spent $500 and my goal was $500, so I am very happy. I'm gonna do the same thing for my flexible expenses. I'm gonna keep track of my fast food, my DoorDash, when I get Jack in the Box, just my random fast food spots. I'm gonna pretend this one's $200. I'm gonna pretend I only spent $50 on Uniqlo, $50 on like gachas and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, and I spent let's say $50 on just going out with friends. So if I were to add everything up, it would total to $350. And then I'd be like, darn, I ended up spending a lot more than I expected on hanging out with friends, on clothing and fast food. And we'll keep track of that in a little bit, but first goal is to just keep track of everything. Savings is the last category. That would include investments, paying off debt. If you already have credit card debt and car debt or student loans, I would count that as savings to me. People categorize it differently, but I would count it. As well as savings accounts, like a high yield savings account. For this, I'm gonna pretend I put $50 here, spent $100 on student loans, but wasn't able to save any more, unfortunately. I only saved $150. So I would look at the month and be like, oh, I spent more on fast food than I like. Maybe next month I will get fast food a little bit less so that I can freely hang out with my friends, spend on my clothing, and next month hopefully I can save $200. Reason being, I spent again an extra $50 than my goal in my wants, and I'd like to save a little bit more. Yes, this is an example of how budgeting may look like in a month-to-month basis. It can be a little bit stressful sometimes. I think it's very normal. And yeah, I think it's important to not compare. I think everything's a case-by-case basis, and just see where you are and see what you want to adjust. Lastly, last category is making more money. Oh, sorry, psych. The next category is investing. And this video would be too long if I went over everything that is important in investing. There are many good YouTubers, books. I really like reading Psychology of Money. Pretty popular book. And I will link some YouTubers that have been pretty educational for me. But yeah, take your time learning more about investing. Take your time dipping your toes into investing. I started with $200. And honestly, for 2 years, I just this is before I started my job as a nurse, but I just invested that $200 and like kept an eye on how it went. But yeah, dip your toes in it. It is a little bit risky, but overall, I'm very safe putting 90% of my money or 80% of my money in investing. But yeah, just understand as much as you can. I'm going to be teaching about compound interest, which I think is very important. But learn about risk. I put some keywords here. I'd recommend learning about ETFs, S&P 500, 401k tax deductions, 401k match. These are the ones that I would recommend you do. Much less risky if you do like a 401k match. Diversification, look at how much S&P grew over the last 30 years. Look at how much inflation is, and decide how much risk you are comfortable with tolerating. So yeah, I'm going to be teaching about compound interest. In this example, I am using an example of someone saving $500 a month. In the first year, they're going to save $6,000. Second year, $12,000. Third year, $18,000. Fourth year, $24,000. Fifth year, $30,000, etc. 10 years, $60,000. 1 to 20,000, 1 to 8,000, and that's great. I'm just going to pretend they keep it as cash. So this money doesn't increase or decrease. This is just how much they save every month over 30 years, if they can stay super consistent. And over here, I have an example of if they made an extra 6% per year through investments. There are many ways you can invest. High yield savings account isn't technically the investing that most people think of, but it can give you about 3 to 4% per year currently. And that's in some ways guaranteed. Again, like I said, do your own research. But I would stay in stocks, which is what most people think of when they hear investing, or 401k, which you can invest in your 401k too. I would say 6 to 7% is usually what people will see every year as an average. I would say especially in S&P 500. Again, do your own research. If you have any questions, you feel free to ask me, leave a comment, or just shoot me a message. So this example, again, is someone that is investing $500 per month, the same as the guy over here, but he's investing that $500. He doesn't need it. This is kind of like for retirement or like in the future. So because he doesn't need it, he's able to keep everything invested over 30 years. And over the first year, he makes this much, just a smidge over this guy. He makes only an extra $163 the first year. Second year, he makes an extra $700, which makes a difference. But as you can see, over the years, by the fifth year, he makes an extra $4,000. Again, it's very slow. You're not going to be like doubling your money in 5 years. Like it's so super slow. If you invest over 5 years this amount, you can look at up to an extra $4,500. But the kicker is, by 10 years, you're saving an extra $20,000 if you just invest it instead of keep it as cash. In 20 years, you save an extra $100,000. You're saving the same amount of money, you're just investing it. And by 30 years, you save an extra $300,000 just by investing your money over 30 years and keeping it there. That shows the power of like compound interest. But again, this is an example. Someone can consistently save $500 every month and also keep their investments in their investments without taking it out. I wish I can go more into it, but there's much more educated people than me and better educators than me at investing. I would just say it's important to invest. I would recommend 401k is your best bet. I would say in loose recommendation, I would say 401k match. If your company gives you a 401k match, like if they match however much you put in your 401k with more money, that's great. 401k match. Roth IRA, if you are in the income limits, I believe it's about like 160k. So if you make a little bit less than 160k, you can invest in a Roth IRA. That's my second recommendation. And the third would be 401k max, which is about like maybe 22k per year. Or just an IRA with any investing firms. I think I'd recommend Fidelity is what I use, or Vanguard. These are both great. Their user interface kind of sucks, but Fidelity is bearable. I used to use Robinhood, but I don't like it so much. But yeah, these are my recommendations. But like I said, do your own research. Try to understand everything. And like I said, dip your toes into it and understand how risky these things are or how lucrative they can be if you do it very safely. Yeah. The last category I have is how to make more money. Just this paper over here. So after you've budgeted and are kind of aware of how much you spend, you may be in a place where you're like, oh, okay, realistically, I can't really save much more because I need to spend this much on rents. I have to spend this much for whatever reason. So the next thing you could do is look to make more money. In this example, I have just a basic multiplication of this is wage. This is how much you make per hour. This doesn't affect people that are salaried, but I'm just going to use this for example purposes. And this is how much you work. And this is how much you make per week. So in this example, someone's making $10 per hour, working 40 hours a week, they make $400 a week. If they want to work more or make more money, one way they can do it is by working more, which is rough, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So you can increase the amount of hours worked, or you can work a side hustle or another part-time job. Unfortunately, this is the reality for some people. They have to work more. So in this example, someone's working 45 hours a week. If you take $10 per hour times 45 hours a week, you make $450, which is more. But quality of life and just working more, having less time with family and friends can be rough. The other way you can make more money is to change how much you make per hour. I know it sounds super simple, but in this example, if you were to get a certification, and I'm gonna go over more ways to make more money, but let's say they make $12 per hour now instead. They still work a 40-hour week, but they make $480 a week. And that's more than increasing how much they worked by just increasing how much they make. And again, very much easier said than done. Some recommendations I have is education, certifications. If you currently make minimum wage, you can get certifications like phlebotomy. I think you can probably find like a 3-month program. And again, it's a huge investment. These things take a lot of time. For me, it took me 5 years to get my nursing degree. And I was very fortunate that my parents helped me along the way financially. And that's a big commitment. And I'm very fortunate I don't have many commitments right now. But yeah, you can also go to trade school, college. Networking can help get you better paying jobs. Honestly, some jobs and fields pay more, but pay attention to how much you help others. I think it's very important with keeping you feeling satisfied and fulfilled. And pay attention to your day-to-day. Like a day-to-day as a nurse is like really busy. You're running around, you're talking to a lot of people. Pay attention to your strengths and your weaknesses. I honestly love nursing. I was so happy being a nurse, and I got paid well, but I'm very introverted, so the job was very tiring. I didn't have a lot of time to spend, a lot of energy to spend with friends. So is that sustainable for me? Luckily, there's a lot of nursing jobs, but these are just things to consider if you're looking for a new job or a new fields. These are important things to consider, how sustainable a job is and how happy you are working that job. It's not just about the money, but like it's about finding something that you're satisfied with that hopefully pays you enough so you can do the things you want to do. So yeah, that concludes my video on some basic financial literacy, how to save, invest, and budget. I hope it helps you guys along your financial journey. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, shoot me a message and I'd be happy to help.